Israel has elections coming up at the end of October. The government in power calls itself a full right-wing government. They accuse all the others of being leftists. Now, I'm a bit confused, because when you say a full right-wing government, that implies that you're totally against the Palestinian State. It also means that you demand service by everybody in the army and full loyalty to the state. Correct? Well, as of last October, when President Trump came and spoke to the Knesset, that this government, full right wing, signed off on a Palestinian state. Go to Article 19. And then that implementation to begin in the agreement of the 15 points this past July on the 31st. Now, Netanyahu, our prime minister, who's hardline right winger, so he says, he objected to the 15-point plan. It says he refuses to go along with it. Just read the headlines. What does he refuse to go along with? That Israel will withdraw from Gaza before Hamas is fully disarmed. Now, everybody agrees with that, left, right, or center. Okay? But he still agrees to a Palestinian state. That's in Article 1, in your face. He didn't deny it. But let's move on to some of the factions of that government. The Likud is right-wing for sure. We will take the Otzma Yehudit party. Extreme, ultra-nationalist, call it even messianic, settler movement. They remain in government, even though the government is recognizing a Palestinian state, yes, under certain conditions. And you have the religious Zionists, who are the traditional backbone of the settler movement. They also haven't quit the government. And you have the ultra-Orthodox Haredi factions, who refuse to send sons to the army. They make up 1/4 of the government. And many of them are quite anti-state. They have rabbis who are quite anti-Zionist. They're in the government. This is a right-wing government. I'm getting more confused all the time. This government refuses to take responsibility for the October 7th disaster where 1,200 people were killed, the worst massacre of Jews, and by the way, others as well, since the Holocaust. There's meant to be a commission of inquiry. They're trying to block it all the time. As of 2018, Netanyahu and President Trump in his first term agreed with Qatar that the Qataris will fund Hamas to the tune of $30 million a month. That's how they built the tunnels. What, there's no government responsibility here? It's a right-wing government, so it's okay. Seriously? And what about the continuing scandal of what's known as Qatargate? 3 of Netanyahu's closest advisors in the prime minister's office were working for, and some getting paid by Qatar, in an influence peddling scheme. Now let's remember, Qatar is behind much of the anti-Semitic educational materials that have been peddled in the United States for close to 20 years, and abroad elsewhere as well. Qatar is viciously anti-Israel, but close advisors in the prime minister's office are being paid off by them. We need an investigation. This government's trying to block it. Let's move to the opposition that's been accused of being left-wing. I'll start with the Democratic Party. What's left over from Meretz and the Labor Party? Yes, they are to the left. They want a Palestinian state. In other words, they fully agree with what Netanyahu and his right-wing government did as concerns the Palestinians. They may get 7% of the vote, meaning 8, possibly 9 seats in the next Knesset. But let's move further. You have former Prime Minister Naftali Bennett and Yair Lapid, also a former Prime Minister in the Biachad Party. They're in the opposition, but what do they say? Expanded autonomy, no more. And Eisenkot, former Chief of Staff of the Israeli Army, Gadi Eisenkot, he's been accused of being left-wing. When he's asked about Palestinian state, he says, in wake of October 7th, it's irrelevant. And we have Victor Lieberman, who is accused of plotting to make agreements with left-wing parties. Now, he lives in the West Bank, Judea, Samaria. But by saying that, they admit that he's right-wing, further to right than Likud. Very interesting. The smear campaign, if you call someone a leftist, it means you're a traitor in Israel. That's been the jargon for quite a few years, built by Netanyahu. But my question is, what about the facts? This government is really that far to the right? They talk a good game, but they haven't signed off, as one would expect, as right-wing government. So if someone could please explain to me what is left and what is right, who is loyal to the state of Israel and the Jewish people, and who is not. Open to your comments. Have a good one.